You are now 3,000 legends following the channel, and to celebrate I'm making not one, not two, but 3 coaster blueprints that you can use in your park. If you like this concept, please gently tap the like button and subscribe, because at 250 likes I'm turning this project into a mini park. We're gonna go from family to thrill to have a very complete lineup, so hold on to your little socks. Let's start right away with our family coaster. My favorite family coaster model is by far the Gerstlauer Bobsled, and yes, the more modern and flexible models from Intamin or Gerstlauer are awesome, but bobsleds have an old school charm about them. As you may know, they don't exist in the game, and since I'm making this project on a PS5, our best option is to use the Infinity coaster track with the classic Intamin Hyper trains. Let's start our layout with a turn into our lift hill. Something to keep in mind is that the Infinite model doesn't have a pre-made catwalk for the lift hill in the game, so we'll have to do one ourselves along with the custom supporting. There is no problem, only solutions waiting to be invented. If you're a fan of coasters in real life, you will recognize that this turnaround element right after the lift hill is inspired by Gold Rush at Drayton Manor, and this one ends with a steep drop. My bobsled from Serene Gardens had a very similar element to this next one, and I liked it so much that I just had to feature it into this blueprint so you can have it in your park too. A little twisting transition and up we go into the mid-course brake run already. Maximizing capacity is key for bobsleds after all. Down into a curved drop, and it's time for me to introduce you to the Twisted S-turn, an element that I will try to feature in all 3 coasters of this video. The latter leads us to what my good buddy Corvus would call a nothing hill, and since it's a family coaster after all, let's do another one after this turn. Only a tiny amount of 0G, we don't want to frighten the little ones. One last bump and a turn, and there we are, that's our final brake run. What I love about Gerstlauer Bobsleds is that they're the perfect amount of thrills for the little ones to try more impressive coasters after riding these models, and for adults and teens, they remain fun and comfortable experiences. To reflect that, I wanted a color scheme that would remind you of your childhood backyard where ladybugs used to fly around on a sunny afternoon. That's where the common theme for our 3 coasters has been found. Insects in nature, and yes, it is as simple as that. Anyway, enough creative nonsense, let's move and custom support that beauty. There we go! On top of doing the custom support structure on the bobsled, I also added the motor for the lift hill, the catwalk alongside it, a few details on the mid-course brake run like a ladder to access it easily, and of course, the first elements of a transfer track which we shall complete shortly. Let's finish our coaster now, shall we? And voila! Our family coaster blueprint is complete and is looking absolutely cute. I simply added the station, which was inspired by the ones I'd made for the European Gardens of Serene Gardens, complete with a place to store your loose articles, a maintenance shed connected to the transfer track with a place to unload the cars at the back of the building, and I surrounded the ride area with fencing to make sure the guests of your park stay safe when you'll use that blueprint. Sprinkle greenery like trees, bushes, and flower patterns, and we have our blueprint done. Shall we take a ride on Ladybugs? Family thrill coasters are true transitional rides between small and big coasters and are very important for kids to get braver in theme parks. Once they've ridden their first family coaster with our Gerstlauer Bobsled, it's time to try something a little more scary and intense, a MACK spinning coaster. Let's start with a turn that leads us to our lift hill, much like most of the real-life layouts of that model have. Once we crest over the top of the lift hill, I've built the signature panoramic turn you often see on this type of ride to then go down the biggest drop of the ride. Banking and curving it to the other side gets the spinning going for the rest of the layout. Our first element is a sort of non-inverting banked loop. I don't know what else that would be called, but I always dreamed of making that on the spinning coaster. After that, instead of going for a classic horseshoe, I thought we could take a page out of Voltron's book and do an ejection drifter into the support structure of what's above it. Just imagine it for now until I make it. Once out of that element, we do a slow curved rise into our mid-course brake run to allow free trains operations. It creates a great interaction with the other train that might be on the lift hill too. Drop down from the brake run into our mandatory twisted S-turn that we have to make for every coaster of this video. This is going to be interesting with the spinning aspect of this ride. A tiny pop of airtime later and we go into a Cheetah Hunt style series of whippy transitions, albeit far slower than Cheetah Hunt since after that we arrive to our final brake run. Quite a long brake run too, but it's only to make sure we can space out the trains. The vehicles of this model made me think of Beetles, not the famous band mind you, but the bug. With a sandy look for our track and brownish colors for our trains, I wanted to echo this earthy aspect of the insect. Now that we have our colors ready, it's time to smooth the coaster and custom support it. Ah, much better, don't you think? I had a lot of fun with this coaster's supports, especially with the unusual lift hill and the panoramic turn structure. Speaking of which, I of course added the motor for the lift hill and the chain return wheel. A way to access the mid-course brake run and the beginning of a transfer track later, and voila! The spinning coaster is ready for the finishing touches. Ta-da! I used the same station style as the bobsled earlier, but 8 meters longer of course, and with 2 different shelves for loose articles. I also used the exact same maintenance building for the transfer track with access to onboard the ride vehicles from the rear of course. Circle the ride area with some fences and sprinkle greenery here and there again, and there we go! Our MACK spinning coaster is complete! Shall we take a ride on Beetles? I've always wanted to make a coaster that focuses on airtime, but the sheer scale of such layouts always discouraged me because I usually work on projects that are smaller in size and focus on more intimate sightlines. That's exactly why I'm super excited to make a MACK Mega Coaster a la Alpina Blitz, with a more modern take on the Mega Coaster model of course. We start straight away with a lift hill right out of the station, no time to dilly-dally, this is our big boy coaster of today's lineup. Once we reach the top of our 30-meter tall lift hill, we plummet down a straight drop that ends in a banked 270-degree turn of sustained 3.5 Gs, then rise into our first camelback. These elements together provide a really elegant sightline off-ride and provides a thrilling start to our airtime adventure. Once we arrive at the top of this camelback, the drop is slightly banked so that the next camelback occurs parallel to the station, then goes down into a forceful turn to rise up again into an outer banked camelback this time. As we exit this high portion of the layout, it's time to change the pacing a bit to surprise our riders, and we should announce it with this twisted airtime hill that goes down into a turnaround and into our third and final twisted S-turn of the video for our last coaster, but this time, combine it with the Cheetah Hunt snappy direction changes. Another turnaround rises into an outer banked airtime bump, leading to one last forceful turnaround that changes direction a couple times until the track becomes an airtime bump. A turn with a Tutatis inspired bump, and here we are into the brakes and back into the station. Phew! What a ride! The speed of the train and its shape bring one insect to mind, the Wasp. And knowing our train is what's supposed to attract your eye, I wanted to make the track a discreet green with yellow on the rails and the spine and brown supports. Oh wait, we don't have our supports yet. Let's fix that. Voila, now you can see how it all comes together. Just like I did with the previous two coasters of this video, I made the motor for the lift hill as well as the transfer track. No mid-course brake run for this ride though. I also wanted to show you this particular support structure, which I found absolutely fascinating when I was looking at pictures of Alpina Blitz, so there it is in the game for the Wasp. Okay, are you ready for the final result? Ooh, what a ride! I'm super proud of this ride. I might even think it's better than the MACK launch coaster I've made for the 1.5K special. As we've had previously with the other stations, we've got storage for loose articles and we've got a double-sided maintenance bay too. At the center of the first drop's turnaround, I've made a unique circular flower pattern and placed other greenery around the ride area, which has also been made safe with fences. Alright. Shall we take one last ride for the day on the Wasp? And voila! I've made free coaster blueprints that you can download and place in your parks right now by searching my name on the PlayStation Workshop of Planet Coaster. I've left the queues and exit cleared so that you could decide what to put there. If you've enjoyed this video, please gently tap the like button if you haven't already, because at 250 likes I'll be turning this into a mini park, and consider subscribing. The channel is soon going to cross over to Planet Coaster 2 with very interesting projects on the horizon, I'm sure. If you want to talk about these free coasters or the potential mini park, you can do so in the comments or by joining the Yan HQ, my Discord server, with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Yan, and I'll see you in the next one.